Hello, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining us. Another podcast, livecast, whatever we call it these days. So excited to do this again. And today we have a very special guest. So Jenae and I, we met, of course, Ildiko is with me again, as usual, my partner in crime every Thursday. And today we're very excited to welcome Jenae with us. And Jenae and I met a few months ago in one of the programs that we took together. Yeah, there's the cup. I love it. And ever since I heard that Jenae worked for LinkedIn for 10 years, I was after her. It's been months that I've been chasing her. I'm like, when can we do that podcast? And we were getting this close, and then something was happening, but finally we are here and stars have aligned, and it couldn't be a more perfect moment for us to do this podcast. So in our community, we hear time and time again that people are really interested in learning more about LinkedIn and how to use it in their business. And I think personally, as a coach myself, I'm transitioning now more and more onto LinkedIn because there is so much value. You can see people's profiles, you can dive in, slice and dice, and really get to know a person and figure out if they're ideal client before you actually reach out. So I think there is so much potential, and I'll be definitely paying more and more attention this year to LinkedIn. And that's why I'm so excited you're here, and we're going to get to learn a bit more from the insider. So it's not just a person that tries to beat the game, but it's a real insider. So tell us a bit more about yourself, how you ended up working for LinkedIn, and maybe what was your journey like with LinkedIn?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I started working for LinkedIn, was it in 2008? And we went public 2010, I believe. Don't quote me exactly on that. I started before we went public. That's what I know for sure. And I actually, ironically, got laid off from my previous job and found this position at LinkedIn. And that was before really anyone knew what it was. In fact, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, here in the United States. And we have a city in Nebraska called Lincoln. And my parents, for 5 years, thought that I worked in Lincoln, not at a company called LinkedIn. And now it's hilarious because we all know, like, we're all aware of what LinkedIn is at this point. But back in the day, like, no one really knew. So anyway, I started in customer support. And within the first year, I moved to a newly created position on our social support team, which meant it was me for a long time, just me. And then we built out a team that would respond back on social media to questions or comments about LinkedIn. So if you've ever followed at LinkedIn Help on Twitter, for example, that is my team that does it. Or on LinkedIn, if you ever see someone tag the at LinkedIn Help page, that was the team that I worked with for almost 10 years. And so it was really a cross section between customer support, product, because we would give product feedback to our product managers to determine, like, are things trending well? Are these new things that we're trying working? And also a little bit of PR and comms to, like, communications to address anything before it became something bigger. So a ton of experience there, a lot of insight. And then what I used to do locally in the community, and then I actually went out and traveled across 10 states in the United States to do trainings on how to utilize LinkedIn. And so I have a really broad range of how to do so. And then last thing, I've trained a lot of the third-party LinkedIn trainers, maybe some names that you've heard of before, and worked with them before too. And they are phenomenal at what they do. I'm a big believer of the world is abundant, and there's plenty of work out there for all of us. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be stepping into this space myself. So I'm going to be doing some trainings myself too. And that's why I'm here sharing some of my insight with you. So, yeah.
Yes, and I can't wait to hear more about the trainings that you do. But today we really wanted to learn about the hacks and tricks and how we as coaches really can utilize LinkedIn's full potential. And I know you have a lot to share on that. So why don't you just go ahead and get started?
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple tips. I'm going to give you a couple examples that we can look at as well. And I'm actually going to dive, and I can share my screen, correct? So I can dive in and kind of show you some areas of the site to focus on. The first thing I'll say is my stance on how to utilize LinkedIn is that the biggest like misconception that I have heard is that LinkedIn is a resume. It's an online resume, but it's really so much more than a resume. It's about our reputation. And we utilize our reputation with our resume sometimes, but in this case, and especially with coaches, it's about building our reputation as like a thought leader in our space that has opinions about things that are happening in our space and can provide our network value. Does that make sense? So I think like a big piece there then is looking at our profile. So if we talk about our LinkedIn profile, we actually want to utilize it like a dynamic landing page. And so what does that mean? Very clearly, if someone goes to your LinkedIn profile, can they see what you're working on and how they should be, how you want them to be interacting with you? And so I'm going to show you an example. We'll look at mine here. Sharing my screen. Let's see here. Can you all see my screen in my LinkedIn account? Awesome.
Yep.
So this tech side of stuff that always makes me the most nervous. Okay. So if we look at my LinkedIn profile, for example, and by the way, if you want to drop the link to my LinkedIn profile in the chat, feel free to connect with me. I would be more than happy to connect with you and answer any questions that you have. A couple of things I want to highlight here. At the very top, you may not see this on other people's profiles, but this is kind of my like, welcome, learn more about me. You know what I mean? It's something that's inviting. I do see a lot. And one of the things I would suggest is if you have an event coming up that you're promoting, regularly be switching it out to that event as well. I'll share with you. So I have a full-time job as well. And so I'm currently in the process of figuring out exactly what this looks like for me and what that transition will be. So right now mine's pretty neutral. Welcome to my page. You are welcome here. I'm excited to learn more about you. Okay. And then if you quickly scroll through my profile, your eye is going to go to some specific areas. The featured section is a great one. So the featured section is where you're going to want to highlight whatever program it is that you're currently promoting. And in here, have dynamic pictures that get people's attention and say what it is that you do. Because, for example, as humans, when we scroll through stuff, if there's a lot of words, we scroll past them quickly, right? And so our eyes naturally go to content, and it goes to pictures and video or to colors. And so that's why having something in your featured section is really important. If you've never heard of the featured section before, I'll click in here and I'll show you some of the options that you can add. You can highlight posts that you've done previously on LinkedIn. So let me just click in here. So like, time's up, registering for unlocking LinkedIn before midnight tonight, and you get a complimentary profile consultation. If I wanted to feature that, I could choose to do so. Or in this case, I had a picture where I was talking more about like some prison reform work that I'm really passionate about. And actually 10% of my LinkedIn program goes back toward funding that nonprofit. And so I tie my content back to the program that I'm promoting, even if I'm leading with something else. So that's the featured section. Notice you can also add articles, links to things, and media. So for example, someone clicks on this, they see a dynamic photo, they click in here, they can learn a little bit more about what my LinkedIn workshop is and click the view button to be taken directly to my landing page. So quick and easy, and a great way for people to see how they can be in contact with me. And then notice in my about section, I have in here exactly the program that I'm launching, the website to the landing page to learn more information about it. I'm going to talk about these 3 paragraphs in a second. And then also, if I piqued your interest, here's a Calendly link to get in touch with me. Now, why do I do a Calendly link? Because I want people to, ideally, if we're communicating via LinkedIn, awesome. But I'm sure you know the best conversations and the best way to really like prove your value and also tie back to the outcomes that you want, which is ultimately more clients and sales, is to usually get people on the phone. And so putting this in front of them gives them the option to do so. And you know that if they're reaching out to you that way, that's something then that's a key interest indicator that they want to be, that they're more interested in working with you. On my Calendly, just a heads up, kind of a detail, I have specific days and times blocked exactly just for this purpose. And so that way I'm not giving them full access to everything. They can book whenever, but it's just some specific timeframes for just a 30-minute window. That way we can have a consultation call and discuss more about what they saw on my LinkedIn profile that piqued their interest. All right, back to these 3 sections right here. In these 3 sections, what I've done, and if you're taking notes, write this down. I've said who I am, the value that I provide, and something personal about me. And you may be wondering, why something personal about you? And the reason is people do business with you for 2 reasons. Number 1, you are really good at what you do, and you've proven that value. Number 2, they really know, like, and trust you. And the reason that this is so different than just a resume that showcases your experience, it's because we're allowed to bring in these elements of our personality so people can get to know us a little bit more. In fact, one of the examples that I have in here is that I have a Pomeranian poof ball. He's an 11-year-old Pomeranian named Max. And the amount of private messages that I've gotten where people say, I have a Pomeranian too, is a lot. And that seems like a very, whatever detail, but it's so important in building some of that trust and that factor of just getting to be like one step closer to knowing each other. And so that's the about section. This is something that, again, what I do regularly is for this area right up here, what I'm promoting will always be at the top. I also like to add in some like emoticons to give, again, some color to it. So that way the eye draws to the color. And I like to bold things. So here's an insider tip. LinkedIn doesn't really allow you to bold things, but if you go to a third-party website, and if you want, I think I can hopefully pretty easily pull it up right now. Give me just a second. I always get nervous when I do this on the fly. Here we go. Lingo Jam Facebook fonts. I'm going to drop this in the chat here. This will allow you to type in anything that you want and see it in a whole bunch of different fonts, and it translates over not only to LinkedIn, it also translates to Facebook. So you're welcome for tips on some multiple areas there. All right, dropping this link in the chat here. Excellent. Okay, experience section. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you're going to put some things in about your past. And so you'll say what it is that you do and the value that you provide in those areas. Notice, for example, I have that I'm a LinkedIn interactive workshop instructor. So I have that piece on here as well. And again, another link to where people can go learn more about my workshop. So feel free to fill that out. That one I feel like is the most self-explanatory. Same with education. You have licenses and certifications. This can be really important for coaching. So go ahead and add those things in there as well. Volunteer experiences. This showcases the value that you provide that you're not getting paid for. So what are you passionate about that you're not getting paid for? And again, this is something that is a connection point for you and the potential person that you're working with. You have your skills, which allows you to be searched by certain keywords that are listed on your profile. Your recommendation section, this is a huge one. Okay, so you have previous customers and clients or people that you've worked with in the past that can showcase things about you that other people would want to know. And I would highly suggest getting some recommendations in your LinkedIn recommendation section. So for example, Jason is someone who's brand new to my program that's going to be launching. We just done our one-on-one consultation, and for him to test it, he actually sent me one. I swear I didn't even ask him for it, but he did send me one. And in here, he said, what I like most about Jenae's technique, seemingly her personality, is the positivity. And so that's something that helps showcase a little bit about what the value that I'm providing. Notice if you want to get these, how this works is you would actually click the plus sign from your profile, click ask for recommendations, type in the name that you are wanting to get a recommendation from. So like Amira Alvarez is my business coach, how I know her, my position at the time, and here's why I bring this up. In the personalized message section, yes, of course, LinkedIn automatically puts something there for you, but please don't leave it just at that. Say why it is that you're wanting the recommendation. So for example, I would say, Amira, I am reaching out because I'm looking at adding some more recommendations to my LinkedIn profile. When we've worked together, you've mentioned that I'm really coachable and that I really take the initiative to take the next steps and bring more answers than questions. I ask a lot of questions, but I bring solutions. When you fill out my recommendation, could you include some information that speaks to that? And the reason that I say to do that is because people want to give recommendations. They just don't know what to say. And so helping them think about what to say first, maybe giving them some ideas of what they could say will really speed up the process. Does that make sense? I'm seeing some head nods. Cool. All right. So that's what I would do for recommendations. Another great recommendation tip is if you can, give them one first. If it makes sense for you to recommend them, proactively fill out a recommendation for them and then ask them for one. Obviously, we know how humans work. Law of nature, they're going to be more likely to give you one as well. And so only do that if that feels authentic to you. That's like a core value for me, like what feels truly authentic for me. And so absolutely, that's a great way to start. All right, let's scroll down a little bit further. Projects. So going and saying like what it is that you're doing. So in my case, I have speaking engagements that were associated with my time at LinkedIn. And here I could then put some of the different clients that I've spoke for. So whether it was colleges or nonprofits or chambers of commerce or alumni groups, et cetera, like tons of different things, interns, different things that we did here. And so this will give you, again, more places to showcase some of the value that you have and experience that you've done. Speaking of value, honors and awards. So go ahead and fill out those honors and awards. Languages, organizations that you are a part of, interests, and more causes. So these are all ones that you can fill out. Here's the thing. There's so much that you can fill out on your profile page. And it's overwhelming. In fact, I used to do hour-long trainings of this. And what happened is that I'd see these light bulb moments going off. I'd see people writing and taking notes, just like you're doing right now. And then I would look at the profiles a week later and nothing would change. So, and you know, that's nature of how it works. So, and that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about training, because I'm trying to do that differently. Here's what I'll tell you. Start with 3 main areas of your profile. Make sure your experience section's up to date, your summary section, which is that about you, like who I am, the value I provide, something personal about me. And finally, scrolling all the way back up to the top, your headline section. Your headline shows up underneath your name at the top of your profile. And in this section, automatically, like if you don't change it, the default is that it's going to be whatever your job title is in your current experience section. So for example, Eileen over here, and people also viewed, marketing project coordinator. Will surprise, anyone can search for that. Okay, they'll already be able to find her. But what they won't be able to find is words maybe that would describe the person behind the position. Does that make sense? So think of those 5 phrases that people use to describe you, or you use to describe yourself in your work, the value that you're providing to those that you're coaching, and include that in your headline section. The whole point is it draws enough attention that someone goes, I saw this profile on my homepage and I wonder what she's talking about. And then click into my profile to see my profile. because we're trying to get them there off of the homepage. Does that make sense? Seeing some head nods? Good. Okay. All right. Last thing for profile, and then we're moving on from profile. The one thing I want to point out here is change your profile to being a, to being a creator. So this is an option for everyone. I'll show you, I've already changed it. So let me change it back and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to unpublish. Oh, hang on. That's not right. Hang on. Forgive me. I clicked too fast and got really excited. All right. So I have, here we go. The creator mode. So right now I have creator mode turned on. This is an option for all of us. When you have creator mode, you can add some hashtags of things that you talk about regularly on your profile. And so I have a varied experience. I talk about transformation all the time, whether it's transformation at work through our employee experience, whether it's doing my transformational social media coaching, whether it's volunteering in prisons and talking about life transformations from there. And so those are like big topic points for me and different areas that apply to me. The reason I say to turn creator mode on is then you get access to LinkedIn Lives as that gets rolled out. You also get access to posting newsletters. Has anyone seen newsletters come through lately? Awesome. Yep, seeing some hands there. Newsletters is something that is being rolled out to everyone. When you turn this on, if you don't have it yet, I promise it's coming. Here's some insider information. How they choose how it's coming is it's based on a varied amount of things. It's mainly random. Okay. So you can't rush it. There isn't a way to like hurry it up. Even as LinkedIn employees, sometimes we had customers who had it before we did, as we were rolling out features, like it's pretty random. But what it will also look at is how active you are on the profile or on LinkedIn. So if you're active, it's going to happen quicker than if you're waiting and then saying like, maybe I'll start using LinkedIn after I get the feature. So just keep that in mind. So for time frame wise, I'm not going to go into the specifics of these. If we have questions, I'll answer questions about them, but I just wanted to highlight these as two tools that you can learn more about. At the end of my presentation, I'll show you where in the Help Center you can find out more information. And I think this will be really beneficial. I want to tell you though, a downside of creator mode. One of the downsides of creator mode is that people, when they go to add you on LinkedIn, the button, instead of saying invite and to become a connection, it says follow. So it depends, like if you're wanting to do a lot of one-on-one messages, you ultimately want to become connections with them. So that's just something to keep in mind. It is a downside. It depends how much you're going to use some of those other content creation tools as for you to determine if it's a good fit for you or not. If that sparks questions for you, drop them in the chat. I think we'll be answering some of them like toward the end of the presentation. So feel free to drop some questions in there.
Jenny?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just a quick one if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about a way around that. So would you recommend that sometimes go through the list of people who follow us,
Totally.
and the ones who are not connected with us yet, that we invite them instead? Or can you think of a better way to go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'll tell you how I'm using it right now. Like for me personally, I'm doing it different for some of the brands that I'm working with or people I'm working with where I'm doing their social. But for me, I'm not ready to roll out a regular newsletter yet. And I'm also not going to do a LinkedIn Live yet. And so for me, I normally have it turned off because then my connection button is front and center, but I can always turn it back on when I'm ready to. So it really depends where you're at in the stage of your business as to how much content you're wanting to be pushing out. I see you nodding. Do you have follow-up questions for that? Okay. All right. So then in that case, I'm going to move into content. Here's my philosophy on content. The best content that works the best on LinkedIn is the content that you post consistently. So I know that that's not like a big surprise, but I think it needs to be said, because depending on who you talk to, people will be like, video, video, video. And you're like, yeah, I want to do video. I know video goes over really well. And it does if you post it. But if it makes you nervous and you're not doing it on a consistent basis, then it's not going to have the same effect. And so if you are a writer, stick with writing. If you like video, stick with video and find what works best for you. Your thing is, how do you determine how to do it consistently? So in my workshop, what I'm teaching is pick how often per week you want to post and stick with it. So if you say, I'm committing to 2 times a week, then choose those days, have your content ready for those days, and consistently be posting on those 2 days. People always ask me, what is the best time to post? Are there best days to post? I'll tell you, it used to be different before COVID, but now that a lot of people are working from home, there's a lot more work-life blend than there ever was before. And also how LinkedIn has started to evolve into not just something that we do professionally to like find jobs and whatever, like it's truly becoming a content platform, which then means people are checking it for entertainment value as well. It's not the same rules as it used to be. Post what works for you and what works for your audience. And so if your audience, you know that they get up in the morning and they may be scrolling through social media before they start their day, then post in the morning before you think they start their day. Does that make sense? All right. Another thing to think about is when you're posting content, post, if there's certain links that you're using, post using those links that have a way to track back, so that way you can see how many people are clicking on the content and you can see if it's working for you. The biggest thing that I want to provide is for you to be able to showcase your value, so that way you can say, okay, when I was posting 2 times a week, I ended up having approximately 5 people reach out to me for potential one-on-one opportunities. Now, if I go to post 4 times a week, does that then translate to 10 times? And finding what content works best for you so you can determine where you want to double down on your effort. Believe me, as I have transitioned into doing some of these trainings and becoming like a business owner for myself, I know the amount of hats that you're wearing as far as all of your sales, outreach, marketing, figuring out exactly what that looks like. So my goal is we want to get a very clear system of how you can prove value so you know where your time is most efficiently used. Make sense? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to go back. So profile, I feel like we've covered really in depth. And it's foundational, because of everything that you can do, get your profile right first. Get something on there that looks solid, that you feel proud of, because everything else that you do on LinkedIn is going to bring people back to your profile. So you want that to you want to feel really good about that. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the homepage. I want to talk a little bit about content. When you're sharing content on LinkedIn, you have a couple different options here. You have photos, videos, events, being able to write long form articles. Photos and videos, those are pretty self-explanatory. Events is a way that you could showcase different Zooms that you're going to be having on a consistent basis. If you have meetings or like free webinars that you're hosting to drive clients, you can absolutely showcase those on events. And here's a tip. Here's something that's coming down the pipeline. And I just heard another third-party trainer talking about this, so I know that we can share it. There is an option soon where you can do audio-only events. And so, like, has anyone heard of Clubhouse, the social media platform Clubhouse? Cool, seeing some hands raised. That feature's coming. And so that will be rolled out in the events option. So, and actually where you will see that is when you click on events. We're going to have online event format. So right now my option is a LinkedIn Live or an external event to someplace else. And soon, whenever it hits my profile, it's on its way out, I'll have the option for audio events as well. And so a cool, another option for you to be able to work with your network. All right. So we talked about posting content. One of the big things, you know, that I hear a lot is how do you get content that works? Like, I think the biggest thing that holds people back from posting is they want to do something that goes viral, right? Because then you're going to get a bunch of views to your page, and, you know, and that's a great way to do things. And it holds us back because we're not naturally content marketers, right? Like someone's paid normally to do that. So think about how, and people talk about the algorithm. How do we hack the LinkedIn algorithm? If we think about the algorithm like a party planner, okay, hear me out in this analogy. The LinkedIn algorithm is a party planner. They're seeing people coming to their party and they're starting to interact with each other. They're seeing, okay, Marcella posted something about an acquisition that happened today, and she had 4 people in her circle that said like, yay, good, good, good. And there was one comment. So someone's standing around saying one thing. Well, is Marcella, when people come to her area of the party, in the like when people are congregating around her in the party, are they, okay, so she posted that herself. Maybe that's a bad example. Let's find a different one. Boom. Okay, here we go. Sarah is a manager at LinkedIn talking about the team outing that they did at LinkedIn, posting a photo of it. 22 people were really excited about it. 3 people said stuff. They said, oh, that's the best. Yeah. Oh, so, but did Sarah go back and say, wow, like, you know, thanks for your acknowledgement of that? Or is right now Sarah and lots of other people, I'm no judgment to Sarah, I have absolutely done this myself as well. Or do we post something and then forget about it and don't go respond to anyone who says things? Well, the party planner, the LinkedIn algorithm, they like to see when the hosts of the party who are sharing content are talking with the people who are interacting with their content. So they highly look at the comment section. So here's a tip for you with content. Go in and reply to every comment that comes in. Thanks for your comment. And if you can start a conversation around it, thanks for your comment. I was wondering, could you dive in a little bit deeper into why you thought this was a good, in this case, like scavenger hunt outing that we did? Do you have any tips for ways that we could do it better? Continue the conversation. The party planner wants people to stay at the party. So how do we keep them at the party? If the party people, here's a second tip. If the party people wants people to stay at the party, we don't want to try to purposely, openly pull people away from the LinkedIn party. So you'll notice if you're sharing links a lot externally, if every post that you're sharing is sending people to another website, then the party planner is saying, they're coming to my party and taking people to another party. So they may not highlight it as much. So you want to switch up your content. You sometimes want to post links. You sometimes want to post photos. You sometimes want to do text only, but you want to keep people at the party because that makes the algorithm happy. Seeing some head nods. Cool. I'm glad that this analogy landed. Yeah. Awesome. When it comes to other content that you can post, one of the things that I want to highlight is, I'm just seeing if there's anything else that's standing out huge here. You don't have to have all the answers either. Share your story. So what I'm doing with me right now, as I'm launching this LinkedIn program, is I'm saying, hey, it turns out launching a business is really hard. It's the biggest self-development thing that I love self-help. And it's the most self-help that I've ever done, to put myself out there in front of other people. And I see you smiling and nodding, like I'm positive that you've gone through that too. Share pieces of the story. Like it doesn't always have to be necessarily about what it is that you're selling or rolling people into. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Now let's do this. I want to talk a little bit about people that you can target on LinkedIn. So when you're thinking about your ideal coaching clients, what is their professional background? Write down some notes for yourself. Do you see trends where people come from a certain industry or a certain geography? Or for example, do you have a client that you're connected to and you can look at their network and who they're connected to, because it could be an easier referral. Does that make sense? You can also really dive into like topics that they're talking about. So for example, I see, Doreen, I'm going to call you out. I see on your name, thank you for doing that, Clarity Connects. I see that piece of your name on there. Is it around, I'm totally just going to assume or guess. How about like mindset, communication, not in your head? Okay. So someplace in that ballpark of what we're doing. In your search bar up at the top, go ahead and type in hashtag mindset. Let's see who in our LinkedIn network has used the hashtag mindset in some of their previous posts. Let's see what's happening here. This one, for example, Brian, he's a second degree connection of mine. So we don't know each other. We're not connected on LinkedIn. And and he posted this video of an eagle and 157 reactions. So this party's hopping. There's stuff happening here. Inspirational thought. I'm sure if we listen to it, there's some words, fly like an eagle. If this is something that resonates with you and like the concepts that you're teaching, you can pop into this comment section and be like, wow, at Brian Burke, what a cool video. This reminds me of something that I teach about whatever. Because then other people in the hopping party will be like, oh, interesting. Like Doreen must do something in this area. And as you can see here, we would be able to see what Doreen's updated headline section is. So now we're drawing some more information, getting people a little bit more interested in going and looking at our profile. And then all we would do is click on Doreen's name here, go to the profile, see what it is that she's working on, how we can get in contact with her, the value that she provides. And there's that know, like, and trust factor from the LinkedIn profile that we've created. So that way we're starting to drive traffic back to you. Does that make sense? I do this a lot. So what I do is 15 minutes a day in the profiles that I'm working with. So it's not a ton of time, but it's a consistent amount of time. I'm looking through my homepage, seeing what parties are happening, like where are the people at, and how can I make comments in there to drive people back to my profile. And again, it's not salesy. It's not saying like, hey, I see that you posted about, being really stressed, and my coaching program really helps with stress management techniques and how we can ground going through that. We're not leading with that. We're saying, I see you, I hear you. I think I have something this is an area that I know a lot about. Come on back to my profile and you'll be able to see more. Okay. And so in your profile section then as well, you can add those if you've already have created. I'm sure we all have varying marketing that we've done for our business. Either we're brand new, or maybe we even have like lead magnets and things like that. If you have those lead magnets created, add those to your LinkedIn profile, because then you can point back to some of that information and give them value. Again, LinkedIn is about reputation. So how do we provide people value to come back to us? I'll tell you this. I was doing an interview just yesterday for someone at my current day job. And she said, she was like, hi, I feel like I already know you before I'm even sitting down to interview with you. And that, my friends, is the goal. You want people to feel like they know you. We're speeding up that trust process. Okay, a couple more things. I want to highlight connections on LinkedIn and sending personal messages. Who here, raise your hand, who here has some feedback on, or has gotten like messages that are super spammy? Like you get a connection request from someone. Yep, seeing some hands, yeah. Get a connection request, they immediately turn around and they say like, hey, here's what we do. We think that we can help you. And you're like, cool, well, so that's what you wanted to connect with me about. What are some ways that we can utilize our network to bring more value to them first before we start those conversations? So we talked about content and being consistent with our content so people know that we're there on a regular basis and that we're using it consistently. we talked about the value that we're providing in the content. And so then in our private messages, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to ask them about things on their profile. And then if it makes sense and aligns, at some point, we'll turn that conversation into a value add that we can give them, if it's a lead magnet or a piece of advice, etc., and share that with them. And then at some point, you can set up the sale. So is that an automatic thing using probably a third-party tool that you could use to automate that process for you? No, it's not. And really, I'll tell you this, if you are getting like LinkedIn security is very serious about that. And so like those third-party automation things that are available, and they're available, but they do get shut down. And if you happen to be a profile who had it when it gets shut down, your profile could get shut down too. And I'll tell you, they'll give you one warning. And on that second warning, you're not getting it back. So just proceed with caution if you're using anything that's an automation tool. I wish that we could hack it, but that isn't what makes them money. You know what makes LinkedIn money? Ads. So keeping people at the LinkedIn party to see views on the LinkedIn party. We just have to remember the rules of the party that we're at until we can go create our own party, right? And that's ultimately what we do. We take people offline, go one-on-one, and that's where our party is. We get to play by our rules at our party, but until then, we work by these parties' rules. Okay, I think I'm done with that analogy. So I'm going to move on from the analogy, okay? But let's go back to this. I want to talk about when we are connecting with people and thinking about our connections. I'm going to click into the My Network tab up here at the very top. Oh, yes, thank you. Accept. Solid. Yeah, solid headline. Look, leading by example. Excellent. Okay, so in my connections, so if I click into my connections here, notice I can see all of them. I can see the recently added ones. And so that way I can decide, for example, like maybe I don't necessarily want to reach out right away to someone, but I can go back and easily find them from here. You can search by names. Notice you can also add your personal contacts. So if you want to like import your email address book, if you have like a list already, you can choose to import those. And there is some automation through LinkedIn that's completely cool to do so that way. So feel free to do that if you'd like to really add some more to your profile. Some of the other areas though that I want to highlight here for you is if we scroll up here, we can search with filters. This will allow us within our own network of who we're already connected to. We can go in and we can see, you know, where our current people are located, the types of things that are listed on their profile. This is super helpful. Like Amber, for example, is a great friend of mine. You will learn that her headline or her cover image here, this is I'm assuming a sunrise because I bet if we scroll down to her about section, we'll see. So she's a trainer at LinkedIn. You know what? Maybe she doesn't have it listed in here, but I know this for a fact, she catches the sunrise almost every day. That's like something that's really important to her. So that's why she has that as her cover image. And so Amber is a great profile to look at for an example of different ways that she has, you know, used her featured section to highlight some different things about her activity section, some different options here. So this is a great example to look at. Another great example to look at that I wanted to pull up for you is Ashley. Ashley used to work at LinkedIn and now she's a coach. She's a full-time coach and she helps people launch their businesses using marketing and strategies. And actually, when I was building my course program, like she was in the background being like, yes, and like giving me a ton of advice from coaches specifically of how she uses it. So if we look at her profile, we can see here again, register. She has like the exact what she's got going on right now, her call to action here, her featured section. We can see that she's consistently on the site. So this is another one to look at. Ashley Cruz. And then finally, Mandy is also a coach, but in the meantime, she's also during the day looking for a full-time position. So this is an interesting hybrid of both. So she on hers has shown you know, that she's open to work on her profile picture and exactly what it is that she's looking for right now. So she's still doing coaching, but mainly right now, how she's using her profile. Notice she's got some like recommendations in here, some different options to highlight things. So a couple different strategies, a couple different outlooks for how we can use this stuff. But I think it's really beneficial to see some different options that work best for different people. So I share these three with you to show you that there's many different ways to get what you want to accomplish using LinkedIn. Okay, and now, okay, back to, if we go back into our network here, when we're in here, notice that we can also see based on activity, maybe other individuals that we should be following. So this is a great place to look at some people that you may be interested in connecting with. The party is going to say, hey, I would like to introduce you to these other people over here. You seem like you would be good fits. Again, the party planner is trying to bring people together. So definitely check these out. You can absolutely follow or connect with them as well. Notice that it'll be broken down by, you know, education or where you're located. And so feel free to join those. So some different options for you there. Another great way that you can utilize this is as you're seeing or getting notifications that people have like birthdays coming up in your network. This sounds so simple. And please not only do this on LinkedIn, but also do this on your other social media platforms too. I know Facebook does a really good job of highlighting birthdays. This is a great way to consistently stay in touch with your network. And it's a reminder to you that you don't have to set for yourself. And so regularly reach out to people via private message and a personal message, not using the automation, but a personal message, maybe even asking something like, hey, happy birthday. I hope you have an awesome day. Do you have any big plans for this next year? You're starting the conversation and regularly touching base with people. Because again, we ultimately sell our products and services, like our coaching opportunities, because of the reputation that we're building with people by consistently being in front of them and touching base with them. Cool. Okay, I want to do this. I know that we have about 10 minutes-ish left, and I think maybe there's some options to run over a little if we have a lot of questions. But I want to show you here where you can go to find more information. As you can tell, I hope you can see this. I am really passionate about this. I think it's something that really works for me, utilizing. So I ran our founders page at my current position. And through working with another executive on the team, we were able, as an influencer marketing manager, that was my title when I was on the marketing team here at Smart Recruiters. And what we were able to do was put together outreach to be able to do a podcast that went internationally. And so he was on a podcast circuit for a book that he was launching. Pre-COVID, we were supposed to do a proper book tour. Well, then what do? You pivot when that happens. And how do we find ways to do it? So I was hustling to get him on podcasts, and he was on over 100 podcasts, and with people that we had, not some we had connections with, some we didn't, but really using LinkedIn as the medium to make that stuff happen. One other thing, because I'm giving you one more big nugget. The coaching industry is exploding. I'm positive that you know that. It's exploding for multiple reasons. Right now, like therapists, like licensed therapists, it's hard to get into them right now. And the people we know, we're here, we do the work that we're doing because we know that people need it, and our people need to see you. I work during the day. I work at a company that helps hire over 1 million people internationally during the day. We're like the technology behind it. And so we work with a lot of human resources teams. And what human resources is saying is that they're wanting to bring in more people to talk about probably topics that you are discussing. There's a solid chance, maybe not everyone, but probably if you are in communication or stress, or you name the topic, if it aligns to something that an organization should know, LinkedIn should be a place that you should be. And you can be searching by job titles to find people in human resources to start talking to them about maybe a free workshop that you could do. And then from there, who knows what'll happen. So these are great ways to just build that option. And also, by the way, a great way to test new information or a new presentation, because if it's brand new, that's a great way to be able to test it out and see how it works for you. Okay. So last thing, I want to show you the Help Center on LinkedIn. So click the Me tab, scroll down to Help. Within here, you can type in whatever you want. So for example, I talked about recommendations. Go ahead, type in recommendations. You know how a Help Center works, but here's what I'll tell you from knowing on the inside. The Help Center that we have at LinkedIn has phenomenal results as far as how many people it's able to help. Like astronomically good. So it'll give you step-by-step instructions with probably a video of how you can do it on your desktop or on mobile, and then also the option to contact customer support if you have questions. But definitely check out the Help Center for some of these things. If you have other things that you would like help with, you can always tweet at LinkedIn Help on Twitter, and they have a great way of being able to respond to you quickly as well. It's kind of, and again, it's my old team. So I know that they're really good. All right, let's do this. Let's move into some questions that we have.
Perhaps the first question would be, tell us a bit more about your program.
Yes, awesome. So I am launching an Unlocking LinkedIn workshop, because what I have found is, again, we all know that LinkedIn is a place that we should be, but we don't exactly know how to get there. So my Unlocking LinkedIn workshop is going to be a 6-week workshop where it's held 2 separate sessions per week for 6 weeks. So you could either join a Monday session, so I'm Central Standard Time, Monday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, or Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then flip-flop throughout the next couple 6 weeks, figure out which works best for you, catch the recordings if you need to, but I'm trying to give people a lot of options. And this starts next week. So it is it's a quick turnaround, but I think that it's going to be an absolute blast. We already have 5 different time zones that are being represented thus far, and I'm keeping the cohorts really, really small. So our cohort right now is we're going to have 2 cohorts of a total of 10 people. That's the absolute max that I'm taking, because I want the personalized attention. And so if you register before Friday, the end of the day on Friday, you'll also get a 30-minute profile consultation with me before we even kick things off. So I can go one-on-one deep with you on your profile. And then during that 6th week, you also get a one-on-one session as well to go deeper on anything else that I don't cover in the main 5 weeks of the training. So again, a lot of one-on-one personalized attention. We're covering profiles, networking, strategies for content creation ideas, and specifically the one that's the most important to me, how to calculate the value of the time that you're putting in on LinkedIn. So you get all of that. It would be, so the total is $499 for the 6 weeks. Again, the one-on-one consultations and all of the recordings that you get forever. So again, our first session starting on Monday. If you can't make Monday, the first session will be on Saturday. So we've got some time there. And I think we're probably going to drop some links in the chat or someplace else to showcase what that all looks like if you would like to learn more. And as always, if you have questions for me, add me on LinkedIn, find my Calendly link on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to set up time to discuss with you. If you're wondering if that's a good fit for you right now, if you can't tell, my big core values are trust and authenticity. And so like, if it's a good fit, we'll talk about that. If it's not a good fit at this time, we'll talk about that too. And I will refer you to another LinkedIn trainer who may be a better fit. Really happy to help. So.
That sounds fantastic. I think I will want to have a call with you.
Cool. Yeah, great.
I did have a question.
It's gonna be a great group. Yeah.
If it's okay. You were talking about, when we were talking about posting content and particularly using links.
Yes.
Suggested to use links that help us monitor the clicks and things like that. So what would that look like? What are you suggesting? is it like links to your website with an article on it, or I guess opt-in pages to your system? But what else might be there that could help us monitor?
Yeah, you got it. Great question. So a two-part answer. Number one, you'll need to determine if what you're driving the traffic to automatically has the ability to show how many clicks or what traffic went to it. So for example, if your website is set up to showcase some of that, then you don't have to like manually create a new link for yourself. Your website's already tracking that for you. I'm seeing your head nod, so maybe that's the case for you, or at least for some areas, whether it's a lead magnet or something like that. If it's not automatically set up, then create a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly. And what that will do is it will allow you to track how many people click on the link. Even if they don't do anything with it, it will at least allow you to track how many people click on the link. So I'm going to put in here. There we go. And you can customize it. So that way it'll say like bit.ly / LinkedIn coaching program or something like that. So then you can look on the back end and see how many people click there. So so that way you can say, okay, and I'll go into deeper in this when we talk about like analytics in my course, but I have a whole spreadsheet that says, okay, so was it an image? We had the link. Okay, so now I can see image posted on a Thursday brought this many. Curious, now I'm going to test, does image post on a Tuesday bring the same amount? Okay, so now we know image is good. We like this image. We'll use this for more things in the future. So, and again, I keep it though really simple because we don't want to get too lost in that because we want to keep moving on everything else we're doing. But the only way we know if it works is if we track some basic measures to see if we're moving in the right direction.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions do we have? I've been putting stuff in the chat, but I have not been reading the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you are posting links, especially like a YouTube link or a link from Facebook, this is generally not a great idea, correct? Due to the fact that it navigates the viewer away from your page and away from LinkedIn. So I can't imagine LinkedIn really enjoys this. Do you have any, are there any apps out there, and I know there are apps out there that are available where, again, you have to be careful about content and sponsorship, but is there any apps that
I think we got him muted. Yep. Oh, bummer.
You're still muted. Sorry.
It's okay.
My bad.
how's this?
Yeah, gotcha. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So the problem that we have when we post links, especially to YouTube or offsite, then this cannot be good because generally we would be navigating away from the page. And there's a chance and opportunity that you won't be able to navigate back and even like your post for that matter. And I can't imagine that LinkedIn likes that anyway because you're sending them elsewhere.
Yeah.
So do you have any recommendations for apps that we can use that could, keeping sponsorship and copyrights in perspective as to how we can download that video and then present that so people don't navigate away and people can actually like what you're doing right there and then? Do you have any apps that you would recommend? I know you can do this. I can do it complicatedly from my own laptop, but I do know there's decent apps out there and some are very easy to navigate. Could you recommend any, or is this a problem you already looked at and said this is the best solution?
Great question. So not off the top of my head, can I recommend one? But I can get back to you. I know I have it written down, the one that I use. I just don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Sure. So how about in the group, I will post, that's what you can hold me accountable to, is I will post the one that I've used. And to be clear, it is taking a video, for example, that's on Facebook, converting it so that way I can upload it onto LinkedIn. So that way it's native on LinkedIn, correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Yep. I can absolutely get that for you. Yep.
Perhaps
Yeah.
you clarify there, you can actually download directly from Facebook. You don't need any extra third-party tool. If you click on the video, there will be those 3 little dots. If not, just Google on YouTube or search on YouTube how to download videos from Facebook. You don't need anything else. And there are other links where you can just pop in a YouTube video. It's going to download for you.
Oh, and it won't navigate you away from LinkedIn?
So no, there are links where you pop in YouTube video, and then it allows you to download the YouTube video file on your computer.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you basically take that video and you re-upload it into LinkedIn and Facebook, wherever you want to use it for.
Yep. And so that platform like that you're referring to, like the ability to take the YouTube link and extract the video from the YouTube link, that's what I'll send, is what an example of one of those that I've used. And also, yeah, Rena, if you have one off the top of your head.
There are plenty of those links. If you just Google convert or download YouTube video.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then there'll be lots of links that you can use. I have another question. So about what you were saying about third-party tools. And I've been using a third-party tool like Later to schedule all my content. So how does LinkedIn look at that? Is this something that's going to come haunting me at some point?
Yeah. So thus far, from everything that I know working internally, and again, in full transparency, I worked internally for 10 years there, but I have not worked there for 2 years. So to be clear, from everything that I know, and then in the last 2 years, what I've learned from any external things that we've done in our influencer space, as far as scheduling tools. So things like Later or Sprout Social, or if you haven't heard of Pager, PAIGER.co, that's a great scheduling tool as well. Thus far, there's no issues with it adjusting with the algorithm from going through there. Now, what I would suggest is that, because what I've seen is usually when we post things on a scheduler, it's a lot of the same type of content. And usually if we're posting on a scheduler, it may be a little bit more promotional because we're planning it in advance. Mm-hmm. The important piece, and where sometimes you'll see it does affect the algorithm, is you want to switch up your content. So not everyone should be a sales thing that's leading to a external landing page away from the party. We wanted, as long as we're switching up the content, then it's not going to be an issue. Here's what I suggest for content wise, when you're promoting something. 1 out of every 4 posts, let's say. So right now, like I'm posting almost 5 days a week. So 1 out of every of my 4 posts, maybe 2 this last week, because now I'm in the urgency phase, not urgency, but like in the wrap up phase of this. So I'm posting something that is salesy, that has the link to the landing page. But the other times I'm posting something about it, I'm still sharing it, but the actual link that people can click on is not to the landing page. It's maybe a photo of me doing something else. So I'm switching up how that way when I'm walking up to a networking group at a party, I'm not saying, hey, here's what I'm selling. I'm saying, hey, oh my gosh, like you should hear how my week was. Like, this is what I learned. Isn't that wild? What did you think? It's so wild. Hey, yeah. Oh, and by the way, like, this is actually what I'm working on. Make sense? Cool. Yay. All right.
I have one more question about the Facebook Live.
Yes.
We heard from other people who've been using Facebook Live that once you apply for it, you get it. If you don't use it, it might be removed as a feature again. Is that something you've heard as well?
I have never heard of LinkedIn Live getting removed from someone once they have access to it. If that's the case, that's not something that I'm aware of. I'll tell you. So I have to get LinkedIn Live access for my profile to be able to do LinkedIn Live for some of the people that I'm working with. And so, and because of that, but I haven't used it on my profile ever. I think maybe one time to test it initially. Do I hope to in the future? Yes. Because is it a great content strategy? Yes. But am I scared of video? Doing this makes me really sweaty. So like video for me is not the right thing for me yet. I hope to get there. But I'll tell you, I've had now access to it for 2 years and they haven't removed it from me yet. So.
And again, I guess another question I would have what can you get into the LinkedIn jail for?
So when you connect with people that you don't know, it's really important. Number one, I think from an integrity standpoint, but also just, you don't want to be spammy. So when you connect with people that you don't know, you want to send them a message and reach out with like how you can help them, or maybe some value you can provide to them so they'll accept your connection. If they don't accept your connection, they have the option of flagging you as someone that they don't know. And if they flag you as someone they don't, and people typically just ignore it, honestly, but like if they flag you as someone, the only time I flag someone is I don't know them, is because I feel like they are spamming. And after so many I don't knows, LinkedIn may send you a warning and say, and do I know the number of how many? No, they wouldn't even tell us that internally, and it changes all the time. But it's like they want you to be connecting with people where you're bringing them value as you're growing your network. They've also implemented where you can add up to 50 new connections a day by sending invitation requests. So they've maxed that for how much you can do. Are there ways to get around that? Yes. If you upload your address book, that allows you to do that. Or if people are connecting with you, that allows you to, you know why I said connect with me on LinkedIn? Not only because I do want to connect with you, but also because I'm growing my network too. And so if you send me connections, I can accept them, and I can still send out 50 more today, which I'm going to.
I just want to get back to LinkedIn Prison again.
Yeah.
I'm like, Rena, I'm using a third-party organization out there. Yep. And I want to make sure, because I have gotten a couple of warnings. Yep. And so I'm telling them, I said, you know what, cool it down. You know, we're not, just don't send out things randomly, and make sure that you're doing it. So what I want to know, I want them to just work with the network that I have. So are they allowed to send X amount of messages to my group? And the message that we're sending out is one that's not too spammy. It's basically just, it's myself just introducing me, a picture, and saying, what positive thing would you like to see for 2022? And is there a danger in doing that? Or because what I'm trying to do is just drive conversation.
Totally. Yeah.
But I have been penalized not to use Messenger, just like I have been on Facebook, because the same group is looking after Facebook, and they'll put a time clock on you. Do I need to worry about that? Do I need to tell them to calm this down? Because I recently, one of my board members recently just got kicked off. And is there a way for her to get back on?
Once you're off, you're off.
Wow.
Once you are off, you're off.
Wow.
No matter who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're getting warnings, I would tone it down.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and you can keep trying it. And really, because I'm going to say this, but I don't, in full transparency, here's what I know. Here's what I know for sure. They can see if there's a tool that's doing it, but they're tracking it also by time as well. So it's a combination of both. Because do they care if you're using automation? No, but if it's like you have to find the level of them not caring. And that's where it's kind of dangerous to play with it. And that's why I always just kind of warn, because once you're done, you're done. So feel free to play, but just know that you're playing with fire. If you can find a way where basically it's signaling to the LinkedIn prison guards, we'll call them, like that, hey, like, you know, we can't really tell, like maybe this person had a lot of caffeine today and they're just knocking stuff out. Great. Right. You know, I mean, if you can find that medium, it's finding what that medium looks like. Okay.
Do you recommend, like, for instance, if there are, this is not an automated tool that I'm using, this is like a VA that's doing this for me. So is there a difference between VA and an automatic tool? Because with the message that I got, they're suspecting me for using an automated tool.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just wondering, like, if there was a recourse, because I know, like you said, it's very difficult once you get cut up, once you get kicked out, you don't get back in. And I don't want to get kicked off of LinkedIn because it's one of my, it's my most favorite platform to use. So I'm not sure, like, I want to make sure that I'm not infringing on how LinkedIn does business, and I don't want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So to them, to LinkedIn, is an automatic tool the same as a BA, just putting out personal messages, not actually friending anybody or trying to connect with anybody, but just putting out personal messages to my connections. Is there an issue with that, and a limit to how many messages you can send?
I think an area where maybe it would flag something is if the IP, like the location of the IP address is drastically different.
Okay.
That could be something that's a flag.
And it is.
Yeah. And from a terms and conditions standpoint, technically, no one's supposed to log into our accounts other than us.
Right.
Now, does that happen all the time? Yes. Do I know that LinkedIn knows that? Yes. Because also, like, for example, Richard Branson, we know that Richard Branson is not writing his own LinkedIn posts.
Right.
Someone's doing it. So do we know that? And do we know that that's the case? Totally. I would say there's a little bit more flexibility there, but I just can't guarantee it. I've just seen so many where people have had really good cases and they're like, nope, you know what? Like, we're hard stance. And then I've seen some where maybe it gets let go, but I just, that's my big hesitation with automation, is that it just really depends.
Would you recommend having a number of different responses rather than the same response?
Yes. Because also, yes, if they go, for example, if they go in and they look at your account and they see that you're having the same, so because if someone goes in and glances, like gets access to your profile, glances at your inbox, is it the same message over and over? Like they scroll and they see 20 or 30 that all start the same?
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good to know as well. That just came to me, so I'm glad you confirm. I'm glad you confirmed that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps you can advise your VA to work with a VPN to change the address to yours. So that might be a solution.
Oh, that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah. That's what I know that other people do that use VAs. They make sure that the VA is really based in the same location wherever they are.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea. I'm gonna
less likely caught. Are there any other mistakes that you've noticed, especially coaches making when it comes to LinkedIn?
Know the room. So realize that some of your content, especially coaching content, if it can be applied toward how people are thinking about work or their careers, do that from a content perspective. Because a lot of times when people are on LinkedIn and they're looking at things, they're seeing a lot of career type related content. So how your mindset coaching, for example, applies in the workplace is extremely relevant to the party. So think it through that lens as well. And again, post consistently. So whatever consistent means for you, start off small. If you know that you can hit that, start there and then ramp up from there. And really, and vary the content between telling pieces of your story, flashback Fridays to something that you learned before, a cool quote that resonates with you, etc. It's all about, LinkedIn is all about name, face recognition consistently on your profile. I'll tell you, I have people regularly that are like, okay, Jenae talks about prison stuff a lot. So my other friend said that they want to do something with a nonprofit. I'm calling Jenae. And it's just because I've been consistently out there talking about it. And that's not even what I get paid to do. So like, when you get paid to do it, then you really want to be consistently talking about the specific topics that are related to you. And don't overthink it. We don't have to be content creating geniuses. One of the things that I've seen with some other trainers, which no disrespect to them, they're very open about their business model, is that they can go through, for example, a LinkedIn course and then say like, if this is something though that you would prefer that I do for you, like that, that's an option. Well, that's a different training style than how do we figure out how to do it ourselves and get clear on the value that it provides for us. And then eventually, then we're clear on the expectations. Then we can give it to, for example, our VA to do, and the expectations are clear, and we're both set up for success.
And you mentioned you spend 15 minutes a day. So tell us more about those 15 minutes. So do you go on your news feed, or do you actually do your hashtag keyword search, and then you see what's been happening around your hashtag? So what's your strategy?
Yeah. So, okay. I do 15 minutes a day for outreach. So that means looking on my homepage for popular posts that I can think that I can bring value to, and also searching by certain hashtags to seeing what's pulling up in there and how I can bring value and drive them back to my profile. It's also finding and connecting with some people. So I have some pre-automated messages, not automated, but like I keep them in a Word doc that I copy and paste. I'm doing my stuff manually right now, but like, and then sending some of those invitations to connect. My goal is 50 invitations out every day. Your goal should be as well. If you don't have 10,000 connections, get 10,000 connections, because you know who looks at content? More people. If there's more people at your party, they're going to see more of your content. So that consistent outreach is really important. Driving traffic from other people's stuff that they've posted. And then of course, posting on your own. A tip for me, I am more creative late at night, which isn't necessarily always when I want to post. So I create my stuff at night, usually on a Saturday night. I'll knock out my posts for the next week so I know what they're going to be. And then I schedule them out so I don't have to think about them during the week. But I do have a reminder so that way I'm checking my LinkedIn on a regular basis, because if you look at my profile, if people are commenting, I am there responding back to them, because I want to ask a question, have someone respond, and be there for them. So
about the 50 connections that you send out, do you actually engage with them, with all 50 of them, or do you just find somebody who's interesting and you just send out kind of like an invite? And then what do you say? What is your, what's your connect with me message?
Yeah. So it's different for everyone. Like I really care about like the personalization of my LinkedIn network. And so like, I'll look at their profile. There was one just yesterday that I reached out and I said like, hey, connecting with you because you have an awesome summary section. And that's it. Like, and so then like when he accepts the invite, like then I'll send him something about like, did someone teach you how to do this? Or if it's someone who posted something and I decide that they're a person that I want to connect with and have in my network, then it's like, hey, like, because you can add a personal note within the invitation. So adding that personal note within the invitation and saying like, hey, connecting with you because you posted this really cool piece of content that I related to, like connecting with you to see if there's other things that we align on, or connecting with you to follow more of your content. Also remember, people at parties like to talk about themselves. So how do we get people talking about themselves? So if I want to see more of their content, that's like kind of because I wouldn't say that if I didn't actually think that. So like that's a positive like perk for them too. Like they want to grow their network to someone who likes their content. So yeah. Question? I see a hand raised.
More questions. And if anybody on Facebook has any questions, I know we have some viewers there as well. Pop them in, and Ildiko and I, we will keep an eye on those questions, and we can ask Jenae on your behalf. And again, don't forget, there is the workshop coming up, so I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Yes, Jenae, I have a quick question.
Yes.
With regards to the context of, TikTok, when you have I've got a lot of things going on that I'm planning for this quarter.
Yes.
So are you going to have another group session that I'd be interested in the second one?
Yeah. Okay. So in full transparency, here's where I'm at in my life. I just accepted a full-time position at my current day job to lead our global employee experience team. Okay. So I don't know when my next session is going to be. And that's truly that's not a sales technique of like, do it now, but like, I truly don't know when I'm going to do another one. Okay. I was selected in this course building program that I'm in to be a part of a documentary. So I'm making sure and doing this for like, also like finishing my agreement with the documentary that I'm in, which is why they're allowing me to pause starting my new job to finish this. So I don't know.
Okay. That's great.
Why it was so hard to get Jenae with us on this podcast. I've been chasing her for 3 months.
Yes, you've been a saint. Thank you so much. Yes.
No, it's been wonderful. This is a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
I might be traveling to Mexico soon, so I'm quite excited. Maybe I get to meet her in person. We get to hang out in Mexico. That's the place to go, people.
I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And we will have recordings of the trainings too. I know it's not exactly the same. I'm going to share recordings of both sessions per week. So that way, even if you do catch one live and you also want to just see the other one and see what other questions are asked, you can do that. And if not, send me a message. So maybe there's something that we can work out to do some one-on-one work. It won't be at the same price point, obviously, but like, we could have options. Or again, I believe the world is abundant. If you want me to connect you to another LinkedIn trainer that I know and trust, happy to do that too. So whatever works best for you.
How long will the access be to the recordings?
Forever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is one question also on Facebook. I'm just going to read it out. It's from Lana. And she's asking, when posting content, is it better to use the create article features versus longer text items? If it can be a short article format?
Okay, great question. So here's my thoughts on content. You can do it in a paragraph format, 2, 3, 5 sentences. You can also, you'll see on LinkedIn, the content where it's almost the equivalent of a blog as a status update. You'll see though it's split with like lines in between, like blank lines in between. So it's easier to roll and screen it. Mix up the content, do short and long form, like depending on your personal preference. I don't have a strong stance on that. I will say long form content does work well, because remember, if we're thinking of this like a party, when people sit on profile messages longer, that is dwell time. It means people are standing, they're congregating in a group for longer. The party planner likes that. So then they try to bring other people into that group. So it increases what we call dwell time, the longer posts. So that's why you'll see that sometimes. That's also why, for example, real photos of people, of their faces, especially like a group photo of a bunch of faces, where someone then will click into it, expand it so they can really look at it, increases dwell time. People are hanging out at the same party. We're bringing in, then the algorithm party planner says, bring more people to this one. This party's hopping.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of a conversation I just had with someone recently about someone who posts pictures of herself a lot. And my recommendation was to also add in some sort of a description onto that picture so that it kind of like stops the scrolling if it's just more text and then there's the picture. And then she was saying that she heard somewhere that it was not a good idea. It's better if it's just a pure picture, that the algorithm is picking it up. And I was like, no, it actually, my experience has been, and from what I've heard, it's better picture and the text. And that's yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah. And anything, again, that just stops the eye. Just think of how we use it. Like what makes you stop longer and look at people's stuff and just implement that. I know that sounds really simple, but we just don't pause enough really to think about it. And so, yeah, like whatever it is that's like causing you pause to look at someone's further, that will be the way to go. And that's also why I really drive home, like sharing personal stories, because people want to connect with you and like really learn about you as well as an individual. And then they will read your posts.
Excellent. I've been wondering why I've been getting less and less engagement on my posts, but I actually also share a lot of external links. So I guess I'm getting.
It's a learning lesson. Yeah, it's a learning lesson. And especially if we're like rolling into a new program that we're launching, that makes total sense. I mean, it just, yeah, finding that right balance. And again, that's why tracking is so important, because that way you can prove value and you can go, okay, like it wasn't just me thinking this was the case, but when I did a whole bunch of posts, I saw my engagement go down. One more tip, and maybe I'll leave you with this. Okay. One more tip is that when you are, when you're looking at your engagement stats, yes, likes and comments, awesome. Of course you want those. Are we going to get them initially? No, especially if we're new to posting, because party planners, like, new person's here. We're not sure how many people we want to bring to the new person yet. So understand, like, it may be quiet for a bit. It's, again, about consistency. You're regularly showing up to the party. You're regularly engaging. And that's why engaging with other people's content is so important. And then also in your posts through the LinkedIn platform, you can see views on your post. So if you're saying, okay, I'm not getting the likes and the comments yet, that's okay. But you can see how many people are viewing it. You can even see regions where they're located, industries where they're located. Like, you can see that information, and then let's track that number over time and increase those views. Because when's the last time that you had a view rate of an email that had 7,000 eyeballs on it? Well, you can do it quite easily on LinkedIn, and you can do it organically without a paid account, without ads. Like, it's a great place to do so.
How do you track your 50 send out connections? Do you just have paper and pen, or what's your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, that unfortunately I don't have a system for, but yeah, for me, for the actual reach outs, I just have one Post-it note and I tally throughout, and I'm getting, and it will tell you when you hit 50, it will tell you. So, yep.
Because really, I've never received, I'm not sure if I've ever sent out more than 50 connections a day. I've never seen any. Is it like a pop-up? Or
yep.
what?
Yep. It'll tell you, like, come back tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know exactly the verbiage of it, but it'll prompt you.
Maybe I've never hit that mark.
Yeah.
I'll try today. You inspired me.
Right? Yeah. No kidding. Yep. Go ahead and believe me, if you get over it, then do so. But yeah, they have something on the back end that's watching it. So at some point it'll like flag the automatic system, and then
I'd like, in my case, I don't do it every day. I maybe, pop in, and then every 2 weeks or so, and then I send out a bunch. And then again, there's not much happening on my profile. So I think that's what's also prevented me from getting into the LinkedIn prison. But if I were to do that probably every day, it's good that you gave us all these useful insights. Now I'll be more mindful, and I'll definitely put it on my schedule to send out notifications, and then I'll make sure that I don't, send more than that.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll tell you,
so
if you join my course, one of the things that we're going to be doing is building in some of those accountability features so a quick tip in my next session, in the week 2, for example, I'll be like, okay, raise your hand if you actually put time on your calendar to do this. And we're not public shaming, but it also helps us remember, like, we don't want this to be a one and done session. I don't want you to leave inspired. I want you to leave like you have a very clear game plan of what to do to prove value. So that way you can grow your business and help the people that need our help.
What's your take on, we have coaches that are, let's say, coach around really personal stuff, let's say divorce and things like that.
Yeah.
And so far, my understanding was that maybe for those type of things, Facebook is a better place, because LinkedIn is more professional. People might not want to really pull out the dirty laundry and talk about it in front of their colleagues. Do you have any advice for those type of coaches that are really dealing with very personal stuff? And what would be their approach, their strategy?
Great question. Personal preference. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm divorced. Did divorce affect me in the workplace? Totally. And how did that show up? So there are pieces of content there that can still be relevant to the workforce. And also, so that's like a very clear, like, relevant to the workforce content. But how many people on LinkedIn are divorced? Statistically, about 50% of them. But does it mean that they're going to like and comment on the post? Likely not. And so we have to understand that for like our engagement perspective. But does it mean that they're seeing it? Yes. So that's why we watch the views. My friend Ashley, that I pointed out to you as one of the examples, she's a career coach helping people leave corporate America to start their own businesses. So the people that she's talking to, they aren't liking her posts, because also her posts are pretty sometimes like aggressively, anti-corporate America, which is fair. But so it doesn't mean that someone's going to be necessarily liking and commenting on it. But when they message her, she's actually skipped a level in the sales funnel to have one-on-one conversations now, because they saw it. Now they're already having the one-on-one conversation. She just kind of skipped the whole level of liking and commenting, and it works great for her.
Awesome. So I think it's a good advice for all of those, because this is something that came up for me as well in the past. And I know for some of you, it might be also the case. So keep still posting.
Yeah.
It's impressive. This is one of the insights I had in the last couple of months. How many people told me the reason why they chose to work with me is because they saw me. They saw me.
Yeah.
And I know some of you have been like Evelyn has been more visible on LinkedIn as well. She has LinkedIn Live, and I mean, sometimes I don't have time to really listen to it, but I admire it, and I give you likes for that, whenever it pops up. So good on you. So keep doing that. And again, the link is in the chat. I've also dropped all of the links that Jenae shared with us about the program, the workshop that's coming up, all her links, all the different ways you can connect. I'll also be scheduling one private session with her and see what she can advise me on, and take up that opportunity, right? Take up that opportunity. And by the way, don't forget, tomorrow we have also a free workshop, and it's about how to write your story, your book, and that's coming up. Join us. It's going to be free. It's going to be fun. The person who is going to be doing that workshop for us, check out our YouTube channel. Hopefully we're not going to get penalized by Zoom for mentioning external links. But basically, we had the podcast with Jared 2 weeks ago. Check it out. Such a fun person. And I think he's going to really push our buttons and get us to think about our own story and how it can be converted into book. Jenae, you also invited. It's free. And he published lots and lots of books and definitely knows his stuff. And I think it's going to be fun workshops. Join us. And hopefully we get to work with you again. And good luck with your job, with all those new opportunities, and come over to Mexico. Maybe I'll meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a couple of other topics that are coming up. So next week, is it next week, Rena? We are talking about mental fitness.
Yes.
And we have a session coming up on imposter syndrome, confidence, or especially for coaches. So we got some great topics and expertise coming. We have like a trainer, university lecturer coming, and next week obviously Rena and me will be talking about mental fitness. And we have various other topics as well. Just as usual, let us know what else you're interested in, what you're struggling with, and then we're connecting with people and bringing in topics and expert knowledge and guidance and tips to our group. Obviously we are here to learn together, grow together.
Excellent. Thank you for staying with us for so long, Jenae. And
thank you so much.
Definitely, I knew this was going to be an awesome session, and definitely it was.
A blast.
Thank you everyone for being here, and see you next week. We're going to stop the live stream